Hello, everyone. I'm Robyn Grable, the founder of Talents Ascend and the Ascend Collective, and your host for Ascending Beyond Barriers. Welcome. Ascending Beyond Barriers is an inspiring podcast dedicated to showcasing the remarkable journeys of small business founders who have faced and overcome significant challenges on their path to success. Each episode delves into the personal stories of entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds, highlighting their unique experiences, struggles, and triumphs. Today, I'm honored to welcome Don Williams, a passionate advocate for second chance hiring and a powerful voice in workforce development. Don is a renowned keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and talent acquisition specialist. Don combines personal experience with professional expertise to help justice-involved individuals unlock their true potential. His mission is rooted in purpose to change lives, uplift communities, and help businesses discover untapped talent. With a heart for redemption and a vision for impact, Don is transforming reentry and workforce systems one life at a time. Don, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored, and I love your story. I love I know you. You're right here in South Carolina, so it's an honor to have met you as well. I want to just start out really talking about how you got into this, into this line of work. Where did that passion come from, and what's driving you to on this mission?
Well, first and foremost, Robyn, thank you for having me on your show. I'm honored to be able to share my life and the work that I've been called to do. And just a little bit of history about myself. For one, I am a justice involved individual. I've been incarcerated on two occasions in North Carolina and South Carolina.
Wow.
And what really brought me to this work is during the time of my last incarceration, I was incarcerated with my brother. I'm the youngest of five. My brother was the oldest, and he was there on a minor traffic violation. And a little bit of history about my brother: he had been a heroin addict for most of my life, and at
Mm.
this particular time, while we were incarcerated together, he had been clean for like 8 years. He had been
Ah,
working at the same employer, had worked his way up to a leadership position. And then one morning he got pulled over, and he was in the process of trying to pay to get his driving license back. And he got pulled over for driving under suspension. And when he went to
ah,
court, he didn't have all of the money. So um, the judge sentenced him to 6 months, because I don't know if many of you know, but most times the sentencing guidelines that we get is based on our past. So when my
right,
brother was in active addiction, he had, different shoplifting charges and things of that nature. But as I
sure.
stated, he had been clean for 8 years at this particular time. Well, long story short, his employer had promised to hold his job for him while he go and do those 6 months, to give him a leave of absence. And upon his release, and he was ready to go back to work, and the employer told him, say, hey man, things picked up, we had to fill that position, so we don't need you. And my
Ah,
brother was 49 years old at this particular time. This was his fourth time in prison, and he's trying to figure out, man, how in the world am I going to start over at this
right.
age, and I've dedicated so much to this company. So in a state of depression, because my brother had self-medicated most of his life, never really had anything that was this detrimental to hit him during his sobriety. He decided just to shoot a little bit of dope, and his wife found him dead on the bathroom floor. And it was 3 weeks after he had gotten out. So I was still incarcerated. And when I got the word in prison, I immediately began to sit down and write a employment readiness curriculum, to because I knew that at that point when I got out that I wanted to educate employers. And at this time I had been a business owner for about 2 years, so I knew what employers look for when they interviewing somebody. But I've also been on the other side of the fence as that person that was just getting out.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect combination. I was able to sit down and spend the rest of my sentence writing that employment readiness curriculum. And upon my release, I got to work. I started building relationships in the community, building relationships with probation, and I couldn't go back into the prisons because I had to be released for 3 years. So I
Oh,
started
wow.
working with the Federal Bureau of Prisons that they have probationers that was getting out of federal prison coming back to Spartanburg. So I developed a partnership with them and started teaching employment readiness class to everyone that was assigned to those probation officers when they got out of prison, and did that for those 3 years. I had a 3-year contract with them,
Wow.
and I did that for those 3 years. And then upon the termination of that contract, it was time for me to, I was eligible to come back into the prisons in South Carolina, and
Wow.
started doing it there. And one of the chaplains connected me with another gentleman that was doing life skills class in a different part of the state, and he and I came together. We had the same passion, same drive, and he was also just as involved. He had gotten out like a year before I did, and from that point, Jumpstart was born.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, there's a couple of points in there that um some people will say a death, they try to justify it by saying that person was taken because they were strong enough to be a model for somebody else to learn something, or
Hmm.
some good to come out of that, right? And I know we talk a lot about, as veterans, and we lose, brothers and sisters in battle. People will say, do something with your life that helps, their sacrifice means something. um, and as bad as it is to have lost your brother, that seems like it was a fire, a catalyst for you to start this program. Had that not happened, who knows, what your path may have been. But God bless you for that. It's a tragedy. You and I have talked in the past offline. My brother's in prison in Ohio. It's just a painful situation. He got back surgery and neck surgery. His doctors got him hooked on opioids,
Mm.
and then dropped him. Dropped his insurance. Started, demanding that he pay cash for his medication, um, and cash for the drug tests that they put him through. When he finally couldn't afford that anymore, he turned to the streets.
Mm.
And for 5 years he battled, and then he turned to heroin because it's so darn cheap to get. And he ended up, go breaking into somebody's house, didn't know that the man was home, and he went to prison for a kidnapping charge.
Mm.
And it's tragic. It really is. He was in his 50s at the time, and model citizen, had never been arrested before, and yet he got a 10-year sentence, the same as, the guy that he was with, who had just gotten out of prison the third time.
Mm.
They got the same sentence. So it's a horrible situation. But what do you counsel guys like my brother, who, are facing, that transition, that transformation, coming out and starting your life over? Now he was in this addiction for 5 years. He's been incarcerated. He'll be incarcerated for 10. That's a long time to have to
Yes.
start your life over. How do you help them?
Well, through our program, and what we've learned is that it's more than we say this at Jumpstart. It's more than just providing housing for someone. It
Yeah.
takes a plethora of wraparound services. We, you want to help. For first and foremost, you want to link arms with that individual, and really roll up your sleeves and get in the trenches with them, and actually put yourself in their shoes, right? And then there's other wraparound services that you need. You individuals need help with getting social security cards, birth
Mhm.
certificates. But the key factor of that all is having that mentorship, to
Right.
where they have someone that they could talk to and go to with the good, the bad, the ugly. Because I really do think that if my brother would have had somebody that could understand where he was coming from and what he
Yeah.
had been through, and a no judgment zone, I
Right.
think that he would still be alive. He would still be alive today. So
Okay.
my to answer your question, I think that having that support system and those wraparound services is going to be key to helping the
Yeah.
individual, especially in those first 90 days of
Yeah.
them being released, because that's the crucial side. Because when you're in prison, you got somebody that's making decisions for you, when to eat, when to go to the bathroom, da, da, da,
Right.
all that. But when you get out,
Yeah.
then you walking into a world that hasn't changed, but you have a desire as that individual, you have a desire to change, but it's like, I never lived on the outside
Yeah.
doing the right thing before. So I've got, the stigma of
Yeah.
society against me. Who's
Yep.
out here that can understand the place that I'm in and walk with me until I'm able to stand on my own?
Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it's very similar. I'll say this because we help veterans. I'm a veteran. It's very similar to coming out of the military. I mean, you've been in the military where they've told you what to wear, when to eat, where
Yeah.
to go, all of those things, all those decisions being made for you, and then you come out and you're like, what? I When I got out of the Navy, I was like, what do I even wear to work? Like
Mhm.
I was used to saying, okay, it's dress whites today, so I got to put my dress whites on, or it's dungarees today, or whatever, And that's some of those even small decisions that you're faced with. You're like, what do I do? And
Yeah.
that mentorship is really so important. Are you aware? Are there jump starts in other states? Because your jumpstart program is absolutely amazing. I've been there to see the whole layout. It's just absolutely amazing, and anybody who can support you, please do look up Jumpstart. Please support this organization because it's just absolutely amazing. But are you aware, Don, if there are other Jumpstarts in other states?
Yes, so we have a separate nonprofit that is called Jumpstart USA.
Nice.
And the way that it works is we have different chapters in different states across the country.
Oh,
And
good.
so they use our model, they use our curriculum inside of the institutions. And currently we're in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Ohio,
Ooh,
Texas, right? And
ooh,
Ohio has recently done their first home. They have their first home. I'm going to be visiting them in September. But all of
nice.
the other states, they're still just doing the inside program with because our program starts inside of the institution. So the other four states are currently doing their program on the inside. They haven't
Okay.
grown until to do housing on the outside, because we typically like to take 3 to 4 years of really getting the inside program up and going before
Okay.
launching housing, because that's a whole nother beast within itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. But what a great program. Now, I know Jumpstart is also faith-based.
Hmm.
Do you get any pushback from any of the inmates that are wanting to go through the program but aren't really faith-based?
Yeah, so to go through our program on the inside, although Jumpstart is faith based, anyone can go through our program.
Okay.
But we just make it up front that we are a Christian program. So
Sure.
we've had other individuals from other faiths that have come through the program and successfully completed the program on the inside. So it's open. It's completely voluntary, so it's open
Okay.
to whoever wants to participate. But we just let them know that Jumpstart is Christian based, and that's just what it is.
Absolutely. And it
Yeah,
works.
yeah, yeah.
And again, I think that you need something to attach to
Hmm.
that's bigger than yourself. that you can believe in and know that there's a higher power, whether it's God or anybody, whatever, whoever you believe in as your higher
Right, right.
power. You just need to know that you're loved and you're cared for and all those
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
It's hard to do that when your self-esteem is gone.
Yeah.
You've been, and like you said, the stigma the U.S., the people just put on inmates and formerly incarcerated. It's just sad. However, there are 70 million Americans who have some form of justice impacted or justice involved, record. How do you talk to employers about that and get them to really embrace hiring this untapped talent pool?
Well, that's a great question, Robin, because upon our inception in 2008, it probably took me about 2 years of just educating employers, and I would have some that hit and miss during that time.
Sure.
I've left some employers and couldn't wait to get to my car just to cry because
Oh,
of, their biases. And
it's
but one thing
terrible.
that I try to share with employers is just the social responsibility of it all,
Yeah.
and just over the years, our track record has proven that some of your best employees are those that you've given a second chance to because they
Right.
know that this is my second chance.
Yeah.
So even today, I do when I meet with companies, I've gotten to the place where I ask them, hey, which convictions are you uncomfortable with? Because I know that,
Sure.
everybody, they're not going to just hire everybody with all types of. I understand about policies and things of that nature. But what
Right.
that does for me and for that particular employer is it shows me what their biases are, but
Hmm.
most importantly, it shows them
Yeah.
because they say, "Oh, well, we want to help. We want to hire." So when I ask that question, it really makes them think about, do I really want, a person with this conviction or that conviction in my company? And
Yeah.
it's really enlightening to to watch them have to squirm in their seat pretty much and look within to say, and they have to ask their question now, what am I really signing up for? Do I really want to help, or do I
Right.
just need a warm body because I need help here? You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Uh, I enjoy doing that.
It's like, again, similarities to hiring veterans. We go out and talk to employers about hiring veterans, and everybody says, "Oh yeah, I want to hire a veteran." But when you dig in and say, "Okay, well, let's put your money where your mouth is," they're like, "Oh well, what
Yeah,
about PTS?" And "Oh well, what about this?" And thinking, "Okay, are you really serious then about you know
yeah,
society and whatnot?" And it's so true because when you think about, and I talk to employers about this as well, justice involved, the people who have paid their dues, paid the
yeah.
price for the mistakes that they made, and you give them a second chance, they don't want to go back
That's right.
to where they were. They want to work hard. They just need the opportunity.
Yeah,
And they'll be some of the hardest working people out there.
yeah.
It's just a shame. And but thank you for being on this crusade and trail, blazing this trail to make a difference, because we need them. We need these people, because the end result, as we talk about with veterans too, is dependence on government assistance. Who do you think pays for that?
Right.
We all do in our
Hmm.
taxes, right?
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
all do in our society, in our communities. It's just, we're going to pay either way. Why not give them a better chance to contribute back? Because they're going to do that. They're going to make a good living. They're going to have a great life. They're going to spend their money in their local communities. They're going to support their local communities. It's all going to come back in a good way, or it'll come back in a bad way. I
Yeah,
mean, why wouldn't you want to choose good?
yeah.
It's
That's right.
it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's just so this episode's going to air on July 24th, which is the day I went in the Navy, which is
Wow.
awesome. It's one of those choices that you make and you don't know how it's going to change your life. How do you talk to the inmates that you're counseling, and as you before they get out, in understanding the choices that they made got them into this path?
Mm-hmm.
How do they then take that and learn from it and move on? What's your
Well,
approach to that?
okay, so I'm glad that you asked that question because that's what takes place during our 40-week program
Okay.
while they're incarcerated. So
Okay, great.
anyone that's in our transitional program, they have to go through the 40-week discipleship program that we have inside of the institution. And yes, we discuss with them, okay, yeah, you had an armed robbery, that's what brought you to prison, but let's take a deeper look at that.
Right.
What really happened that led you to this point?
Absolutely.
And we spend time really digging into that and helping individuals identify that it's a bigger reason that you're here aside from the crime that you committed. The crime that you committed just
Yes.
allowed you to have this time to sit down. But while you're sitting down, let's go back to childhood or
Yep.
teenage, whenever the issue started, let's talk about that. So we discuss all of that during our 40-week program and helping them to really become self-aware and find out what actually led them to prison because it's bigger than just the crime that was committed. Yeah.
Absolutely, right. There's a history, there's steps that led them to making
Hmm.
those
Hmm.
decisions, and yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good to hear. I love, again, I can't say enough great things about the Jumpstart program, and I just hope that you guys get all the support that you need. I'm inspired that it's in Ohio
Yeah.
now. I'm
Yeah.
excited because that's where my brother is, and if I can just get him to, he's a bit of a loner, and I hope that when he can be part of this program, and I'm not sure where you are, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about that offline. But just thank you so much, Don, for all you're doing. And I guess as we kind of close out, what is your best advice to employers, small businesses particularly too, because they have, I mean, we're 33 million small businesses in the US. There's a lot more small businesses in the communities than there are large businesses who may have a little bit more resources or the luxury of hiring somebody from this great talent pool. How do you talk to small business owners about the opportunity to work with them?
Take the leap. Take the
Yes.
leap. I mean, and I'm just
Yeah,
being. I could summarize that up. Just take the leap because what they don't
yeah,
realize is, let's look at my brother's situation. There was
yeah.
an employer that he had dedicated 8 years to, and because of the decision that they made, I mean, I wish they would have just told him before he went to prison that man, you can't come back. But that.
Yeah, because at least he would have had that 6 months with you there to talk about it and say, come up
Yeah,
with a
and I
plan.
was a
Ah,
business owner. He could have came and just worked with me. You see what I'm saying?
yes.
So,
Ah,
I say that as far as take the leap because that decision that that employer made cost my brother his life. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? Versus on the
absolutely.
on the good side of that, an employer can make a decision, and not only will that person be an asset to their company, but they will impact generations because now that this person
Yes.
is viably employed, they're able to take care of their family. You know what I mean? Their wife, their kids, or if it's just them, so they don't have to go back to commit any crimes. You provide that place for them, that starting point for them to where, hey, I've got a job. I don't need to go hustle. I don't need to go and rob anything. And then in turn, that person's life is changed and they're going to impact everybody that they come in contact with. So it's a
Absolutely.
generational decision. and employers just
Yeah.
that was part of my education to them. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can throw their application in the trash can, which is what I call 513. You can throw it in 513, and they may be the very one that bust your head in the parking lot because they need money. And just you see what I'm saying? Or
Yeah. Or
yeah,
their children, right? Because they think that's the only way they can live. Oh
you
gosh,
see what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Wow.
Or you
Just
can take the
yeah,
leap and let that person
yeah,
prove themselves. And if they don't prove themselves, then by all means, let them go. Terminate them.
right.
Yeah,
Just
just
like
like
anyone
anyone
else.
else.
Yeah,
But if you
yeah,
say yes and they pan out to be your best employee, then they can change the
right.
trajectory of your company. And in turn, they can impact the
Yeah,
lives of their loved ones.
yeah. Because isn't it like I think the last statistic I looked up it's like 52% of men incarcerated are
Yeah, yeah,
fathers
yeah.
that have children, right? So I mean, think about that again, like you said, that
Impact.
generational
Yeah,
domino
yeah.
effect of that. The other thing that I always talk about too is not everybody's been incarcerated that has been
Right.
arrested. And sometimes it doesn't even go on a
Hmm.
record
Hmm.
necessarily that you've been in trouble. And I always say, like, you look around the room, 70 million Americans have some level of
Yeah,
justice involvement. You got people working here that probably may be stealing from you now. You don't
that's
even
right.
know about it. Like, but you're trusting them just because this person has already, been caught, paid
Mhm.
their dues, paid for their mistake. Give them a chance. Oh my gosh, it just
Yeah,
makes me so mad. But
yeah.
thank you again for everything that you're doing. I guess what I would ask is if someone can't be part of Jumpstart for whatever reason, maybe they're in an area that just doesn't have one yet. What would you tell them the first thing they should do or try to do when they come out and they get out? What should they do if there's no Jumpstart
Yeah,
program for
so
them?
my recommendation would be to and it depends on if they have probation or anything of that nature, but my
Okay.
suggestion is that you get connected with your local vocational rehabilitation center, right?
Okay.
That's an
Nice.
organization, and every state has them. It may not be called Voc Rehab in every state, but
Right.
they provide case management. If you want to go back to school, they'll pay for you to go to school. If you need,
Nice.
they have employment partners that they partner with. They will get you any
Thank
tools,
you.
any clothing that you need. So that would be my recommendation to find a vocational rehabilitation center in your particular area, and then through their resources help you get connected. But if you can find a reentry program to go to,
Yeah.
then I would suggest even before getting out, connect at the institution that you're at with your chaplain or with your reentry coordinator caseworker. Because when you locked up, everybody gets a caseworker. So you want to at
Right.
least would explore the options with them of, okay, what I'm going back to yada 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 county, what resources are there,
Right.
because they would know, and that way you're not getting out and then trying to beat your feet. You being
Right.
proactive, and you're getting things done while you're still incarcerated. So from the day that you get your sentence, you need to be thinking about what I'm gonna do when I get out, and not just be behind the wall wasting time. Yeah,
Which is hard.
yeah.
It's hard to do that. No, that's a great the suggestion, Don. Thank you for bringing that up. And lastly, because we're over time, but there's just so much to talk about here. Lastly, is there? Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a federal bonding
Hmm.
program for previously incarcerated. Yes. How
Well,
does
you
that
that
work?
and see, that's part of one of the services that Voc Rehab will offer. Like here, we
Okay.
have it's called the South Carolina Department of Employment Workforce. They call it SC but they will provide it.
Okay.
But you can through Voc Rehab, they will get you connected to whatever organization in that particular state or county that offers the federal bonding, and that kind of eased the angst for employers as well.
It does. So there's really no excuses available that they should be putting out there that they don't want to tap into this incredibly untapped talent pool that's just an incredible humanity,
Yeah,
generational, just
yeah.
so many good things. Don, thank you so much for being on, for sharing your story and your brother's story. And just thank you for all you're doing. And I just look forward to continuing to watch your success and being a part of it as much as I can. So
All right.
thank you
Thank you
so
for having
much.
me, Robyn.